Stop lying to yourself. You are not the priority in your life. You've spent way too long taking care of everyone but yourself, and that's no way to live. Because when you don't choose yourself, no one else will do it for you. In this video, we're going to turn that around. With the help of Stoicism and modern psychology, you'll discover how to start loving yourself more than anyone else. Because when you come first, everything else falls into place. This isn't selfishness, it's self-respect. Today you're going to learn how to set boundaries, how to listen to yourself, and how to live with a clarity that no one can take away from you. My friend, this is the beginning of a new way of seeing yourself as your number one priority. Before we go on, I want you to stop for a second and be honest with yourself. How long have you been living for everyone but you? If the answer hurts, this channel is your reminder that enough is enough. Subscribe and start walking this path with me, the one where you come first, and make it loud in the comments. Tell me what you're going to take back today, or write it with strength, stoic at heart, because that's the real first step. Let's begin. 1. If you fall, no one will take your place. Picture this. You wake up with a heavy body, a noisy mind, and a tired soul. Still, you get up, put on the same old mask, and go out into the world like nothing's wrong. You endure, smile, reply to messages, meet expectations. You believe quitting isn't allowed, that slowing down would mean failing. But there comes a point when your body stops cooperating, when your mind says, enough. And that's when you face the harshest truth. No one is coming to save you. If you break down, the world keeps spinning, and you'll be the one left to pick up your own pieces. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. What does that mean? That what you allow inside you determines what you show to the world. If you live in self-neglect, believing your worth lies in giving everything without limit, you'll end up pouring your energy into everyone but yourself. And there's no virtue in someone who's broken inside. What's strange is how we confuse sacrifice with love. We think saying yes to everything makes us good sons, good friends, good partners. But all it really does is slowly erase us. Ask yourself, what's the point of holding everyone up if you end up losing yourself? Let me tell you about my friend Anna. Maybe she'll sound familiar. Anna is one of those people who never says no. Her boss asks for a last-minute favor, and she does it even though she's exhausted. Her friend calls crying in the middle of the night, and there she is, even when all she wants is to sleep. Her family plans Sunday lunch, and she goes, even though she dreams of spending the afternoon in silence. On the outside, she looks strong, always smiling, always there. But inside, there's a growing emptiness. And in the end, the body speaks. Anxiety, insomnia, fatigue that never goes away. Because when you don't choose to stop, life chooses for you. And maybe your name isn't Anna, but tell me, haven't you found yourself in that same trap? That habit of saying yes to everything, even when every yes is a no to yourself. That way of holding everyone up while your inner world slowly dims. Seneca said, "He who takes care of himself takes care of all." He wasn't talking about selfishness. He was talking about balance. Stoicism reminds us that we can't control everything people ask of us, but we can decide how much of our energy we give. And that decision is crucial, because no one else will make it for you. Psychology calls this self-abandonment. Therapist Melody Beattie defines it as the habit of putting everyone else's needs before your own. You forget who you are or what you want. You can't even remember your own preferences or what dreams you had for your future. Sound familiar? It's the trap of living outwardly, seeking approval, avoiding disappointment, while your own life stays on pause. It's time to wake up. You're not a favor machine. You're not an endless battery. You're a human being with limits. And respecting those limits is the clearest sign of self-love. So what can you do? Start with something simple. Learn to say no without guilt. No, because you've already given too much. No, because you deserve rest too. No, because your peace matters more than any last-minute plan. Think of no not as rejection, but as a shield. Every no to the outside world is a yes to yourself. Another powerful step is to build small rituals that recharge your energy. They don't have to be big things. Maybe it's walking without headphones, writing a few lines in a journal, or making yourself breakfast without rushing. The goal is to remind yourself every day that you matter. Here's a very practical Stoic tip. Reserve a moment of silence just for you. Epictetus taught that no one is free who is not master of himself. Make that silence your daily practice. Close the door, breathe, and listen to your thoughts without fear. That's where your strength begins to return. My friend, imagine your life is a balance scale. If you put all the weight on supporting others, it will eventually snap. But if you place your own care at the center, then you'll be able to give without running empty. You come first. And once you accept that, you stop breaking yourself into pieces for others and start living from a solid place. The truth is simple: if you fall, no one will take your place. And far from being a curse, that's your greatest freedom, because it means you're the one who gets to rebuild, to choose yourself, to take care of yourself. Today, you have the chance to start doing just that. Don't put it off any longer. 2. Protect your attention, like it's your treasure. There's something almost no one tells you. Your attention is the most valuable currency you have. And no, I'm not talking about what you've got saved in the bank. Not even that weird crypto you bought because a friend convinced you over dinner. I'm talking about your ability to focus, to choose where your mental energy goes each day. And the strange thing is, you spend it without realizing. Every time you open your phone without thinking, reply right away, or let yourself get interrupted without a filter, you're paying with the most expensive thing you own. And once it runs out, there's no refill. The Stoics already knew this well. Marcus Aurelius didn't waste his energy on pointless arguments or fleeting distractions. He came back again and again to what mattered, what he thought, what he did, what depended on him. That's why he wrote, "The life of each of us is what our thoughts make it." Your thoughts can only be in one place at a time. If you give them to noise, you'll never have clarity. And without clarity, there's no direction. The hard part is, we get used to being slaves to the urgent. You go around turning off notifications like you're putting out little fires, thinking it's no big deal. But what's really burning, quietly, is you. Think of it this way. Your attention is like a garden. Everything you look at, every conversation you engage in, every worry you feed, it's all a seed. Plant noise, and you'll harvest chaos. Plant calm, and you'll harvest peace. So the real question is, what are you watering today? Imagine the dream of your life is to be a musician. You've had that guitar in the closet for years, notebooks full of lyrics, melodies you hum in the shower thinking, someday I'll record them. And finally, one Saturday afternoon, you decide to go for it. You make a coffee, open your laptop, plug in the mic, and right then, your phone rings. "Can you help me real quick?" You say yes. You come back an hour later, drained, inspiration gone. The next day, you try again, but another distraction shows up. A call, a notification, a last-minute favor. A week goes by, then a month. And almost without realizing, a whole year has passed without you recording a single song. Sound familiar? Maybe your dream isn't music. Maybe it's writing a book, launching a business, learning a language, or getting in shape. But the pattern is the same. You keep putting the important things off because the urgent ones always win. And meanwhile, the thing that would truly make you feel alive stays on pause, gathering dust, just like that guitar. So what can you do to stop giving away what matters most? Start by creating spaces no one else can enter. Turn off your notifications, even if just for an hour. Trust me, the world won't collapse because you answered later. On the contrary, you collapse when you never give yourself a break. Then, instead of filling your day with 20 meaningless tasks, try focusing on just one thing that would actually make you feel proud. For example, If today you want to start that project you've been putting off for months, don't wait until everything's perfect. Sit down, open the document, and write a single paragraph. Or if what you need is to move, take a 10-minute walk without your phone, just you. It might seem small, but when you finish, it'll feel like the day meant something. There's also something that can change everything: the question you ask yourself before taking action. Usually we ask, what do people expect from me? And that question is a trap, because the answer always pulls you away from yourself. Instead, try asking, what do I need right now? Sometimes the answer will be, finish this report. Sure, but other times it'll be, sleep 30 minutes more, have a coffee in silence, or just breathe and do nothing. And that matters too, because if you don't listen to yourself, no one else will. Next time someone tries to take your time like it's theirs, remember this: your attention is your treasure. It's not something to give away, it's something to invest. And every investment you make in yourself is a step closer to the life you actually deserve. Now I want to hear from you. Where is your attention going each day? Is it moving you closer to what you really want or pulling you further away? Drop it in the comments. This is a community that lifts each other up and helps us all remember what really matters. And if you don't know what to write, just post this phrase: my attention is my treasure. Because once you say it out loud, it becomes more real. 3. Don't be your own executioner. Let me ask you something. Have you ever spoken to yourself with words you wouldn't say even to your worst enemy? Of course you have. That silent criticism that keeps looping in your mind, slowly chipping away at your confidence. But a true Stoic would never treat themselves like that, because they understood that the way you speak to yourself is the foundation of your inner strength. They taught us that mastering your thoughts isn't a luxury. It's essential to live with peace and clarity. Imagine living with a sports commentator narrating your every move. But instead of cheering you on, all they do is tear you down. No encouragement, no break. They criticize how you wake up, how you walk, what you say in meetings, and the craziest part? That narrator isn't someone else. It's you. That voice that's supposed to support you is the one holding you down. Think about a regular day. You wake up late because you didn't even hear the alarm. First thought, great, already off to a bad start. Same as always. You rush out without breakfast and show up to work looking tired. In the first meeting, you say something wrong and your mind fires back. I'm a mess. I never get anything right. Later, someone cancels the plan you'd been looking forward to, and instead of thinking there will be other days, you tell yourself, of course. Figures they'd bail on me, that voice doesn't need to shout. You hear it loud and clear. And the worst part is, because it sounds like you believe it without question. Sound familiar? Maybe your story isn't exactly the same, but I'm sure you've caught yourself talking to yourself in a way you'd never use with anyone else. Take the example of singer Adele. For years, even at the height of her success, she kept telling herself she wasn't enough, that she didn't belong in the industry, that people were just waiting to watch her fail. She said it in interviews. Her biggest battle wasn't with the media or critics. It was with her own inner voice. And when that voice gets out of control, it can hurt you more than any comment online ever could. The Stoics were already pointing this out. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul's life depends on its thoughts." Think about what that really means. Your inner world is the ground where everything else is built. If that ground is filled with self-blame, how can you build anything stable? The way we talk to ourselves completely changes how resilient we are. When you repeat guilty, shaming messages, your brain accepts them as truth and starts acting as if you really are worthless. But when you shift toward self-affirmation, not fake or magical, just kind and realistic, your mind starts creating new paths, new habits. It's the difference between having a judge in your head or a coach. One condemns you, the other prepares you. So here's where I want you to pause. What are the phrases you repeat most often in your head? Do you tell yourself, I'm clumsy, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up? Would you ever say that to your best friend? Spoiler, You wouldn't. So why do you accept it from yourself? Start practicing what we might call the friendly voice. Next time something doesn't go as planned, answer yourself with something different. If you mess up a report, instead of saying, "I'm a disaster," tell your mind, "I'm learning." Everyone makes mistakes. If a plan gets canceled, trade the "no one wants to hang out with me" for "I'll use this time to do something good for myself." It might seem small, but every time you choose kinder self-talk, you're building a sturdier ground to stand on. Here's a simple exercise inspired by what Marcus Aurelius used to do in his journal. At the end of the day, grab a notebook and write down 3 thoughts you had about yourself. Read them as if they came from someone else. Would you agree with them? Do they seem fair? Are they helping you grow? If the answer is no, rewrite them into more honest, constructive versions, and keep those. Tomorrow, when the inner critic shows up again, you'll already have better words to answer with. Because here's the truth: if you can't be your own safe place, you end up living as if your own mind were a battlefield. And no one can carry that forever. 4. Stopping also helps you grow. The mind is like a wild horse. If you force it to gallop without rest, sooner or later, it collapses. But a wise rider doesn't push it until it breaks. He watches it, gets to know it, reins it in when needed. Not because he's weak, but because he wants to keep riding the next day. So, what about you? Are you riding forward, or just barely hanging on, about to fall? Seneca saw it the same way in his time. He said life isn't about constant motion, but about pausing so you can look inward. For him, rest wasn't wasting time. It was a moment for reflection, for nourishing the soul. If you never stop, you end up like everyone else, living on autopilot, going nowhere. But when you choose to pause, even for a moment, you get back your clarity and your sense of direction. Now think, when was the last time you truly rested? I'm not talking about collapsing on the couch with your phone in your hand. I mean stopping without guilt, slowing down, being with yourself without feeling like you're wasting time. If you can't remember, that's your sign. You've been running too long without a break. Chances are, you've been through something like this. You wake up with a headache, cover it up with coffee, and keep pushing through. You spend the day jumping from task to task, eating while standing or in front of your laptop, saying yes to things you can't handle anymore. Night falls, and instead of resting, you mentally replay everything that's still left undone. You sleep poorly, wake up worse, and do it all again the next day. And you call that living. You trick yourself with, "I'll rest on the weekend." But the weekend is packed too. And if you don't learn this the easy way, you'll learn it the hard way. Because your body always collects its debt. Anxiety, exhaustion, some illness that seems to come out of nowhere. If you don't choose to stop, life will stop you. I used to think rest was a reward for when everything was finished. But the problem is, it's never all finished. That's when guilt shows up. That voice whispering, "Really? You're going to stop now? With everything you still have to do?" Psychologist Nick Wignall explains it well. What stops us isn't laziness. It's the guilt of not producing. But resting is not weakness. It's what sustains your clarity, your creativity, and your ability to stay on your feet. Look at it this way. Can you picture Marcus Aurelius checking notifications on his sundial to remind him to be more mindful? His rest wasn't a side note. It was part of his discipline. Same with Seneca, who believed that if you don't stop to observe your soul, you end up living like anyone else, without purpose. To them, stopping wasn't emptiness. It was reflection, care, and a return to what truly matters. So here's the question. What if you saw rest not as a loss, but as an investment? Imagine scheduling it like a meeting with someone important. Because it is important. It's you. Carve out time to walk aimlessly, to look at the sky, to read a few pages with no clock ticking, or just to breathe. That time is not a luxury. It's what allows you to keep standing. If guilt creeps in, write down on paper all the reasons why you need to stop. Read them out loud. They'll remind you that resting is also a form of caring for yourself. That stopping isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. My friend, Even the tallest trees rest in winter. They don't bloom all year long, and that's okay. Because they know that to grow strong, they have to pause first. You should do the same. Let yourself slow down, even if everything around you keeps rushing forward. Because sometimes the greatest act of self-love is to sit with yourself and say, "Today I take care of me." 5. A golden cage is still a cage. Close your eyes and picture this. You're in a bright room, its walls covered in gold. Everything shines. Perfect furniture, spotless windows, a flawless bed. From the outside, anyone would say, "Wow, what a lucky life." But you know the truth. That room has bars, and no matter how beautiful it is, you can't get out. The worst part? You're holding the keys, but you're too afraid to use them. That's what happens when you build your life around other people's expectations. On the outside, everything fits, but inside, you can't breathe. And the trap is dangerous because it hides behind the illusion of success. A good salary, a stable relationship, friends to hang out with on the weekends, a vacation once a year. On paper, you've got it all, but in reality, you feel empty. Epictetus understood this better than most. He, who experienced real slavery, left us a truth that cuts through time. No one is free who is enslaved to what others value. And he said this from experience. Even though he had shackles on his wrists, his mind was free. He didn't live chasing anyone's approval. He lived in alignment with himself. If he could keep his soul free under the harshest conditions, how could you not at least try when you're the one holding the key? Now imagine a regular day in your life. You wake up, eat breakfast without any real appetite, and rush off to work. You spend 8 hours in meetings, smiling even when you'd rather be silent. You take on extra work because you have to. In the evening, you meet up with people who don't add anything to your life, but you don't know how to say no. You buy something expensive to reward yourself, but the emptiness doesn't go away. And at night, when you turn off the lights, the thought returns. Why do I feel like this when I should be fine? That thought is the echo of the golden cage. It shines, but it traps you. Seneca explained it differently, but he meant the same thing. To him, a happy life wasn't one that met society's standards. It was one aligned with your nature. If you spend your energy maintaining a life that isn't really yours, you'll never feel peace. He didn't sugarcoat it. It's not the one who has little who is poor, but the one who wants more. And craving what others expect from you is the greatest poverty, even if your cage is made of gold. Today, that golden cage has a new name: social media. You post photos of dinners, trips, bright moments. You get comments like, "You're so lucky," or "Your life looks amazing." And meanwhile, you know that same night you cried yourself to sleep. What is that, if not being trapped? You show the shine, but not the truth. And the worst part is, little by little, even you start to believe the lie. Psychology calls it cognitive dissonance, living one thing on the outside while feeling something else on the inside. It's like forcing a smile in every photo while quietly breaking down. That constant clash wears you out. It drains your energy. And if you don't stop, you eventually forget who you are. So, how do you get out of the cage? You don't have to smash it to pieces. Just open a small crack, enough to let in some fresh air. Start with a simple question every Sunday. Did I live this week the way I wanted to, or the way I was supposed to? And don't stay vague, get specific. Did you go to that dinner just out of obligation? Did you put off that decision because it was uncomfortable? Did you stay quiet when you needed to speak? Each answer reveals another bar of the cage. The next step is to reclaim something you left behind. Maybe it's dancing, writing, learning a new language, working out for the joy of it. Not because you should. Bring it back, even for 10 minutes. Not to prove anything, just to remind yourself that you're still in there. That little crack? That's fresh air. And though it may be small, it reminds you there's life beyond the bars. Try this too. Imagine no one was watching. No opinions, no applause, no judgment. Just you, choosing for you. What would you do then? Write it down. Maybe it's simple: spend more time alone, change jobs, move somewhere new, go back to school. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. Choose one, just one, and do it. That's your first key. The strange thing is, once you start using those keys, you realize the bars were never as solid as they seemed. They were fragile, held up more by your fear than by anything real. You realize saying no to a meeting doesn't end your career. Skipping a dinner doesn't destroy a friendship. Making a different decision doesn't collapse the world. What does change is this: you start feeling lighter, more like you. Because in the end, my friend, what's the point of having it all if the one thing you don't have is yourself? The golden cage is deceiving because it shines from the outside, but inside, it suffocates. And when you decide to open even the smallest crack, what flows in isn't just air. What flows in is freedom. The freedom to live a life that finally feels like you. 6. Putting yourself off is also forgetting yourself. Think about your daily life. Your boss sends you a message saying, "This is urgent," and you jump on it as soon as you can. Your mother asks for help with some paperwork, and you drop everything to go with her. A friend calls needing to vent, and even though you're tired, you're there. Everything else gets handled immediately, without delay. But when it comes to you, your rest, your dreams, your well-being, the answer is always the same: later. Do you see the inconsistency? If Marcus Aurelius were watching, he'd tell you, don't live as if you were going to live 10,000 years. And he'd be right. We act like time is infinite, as if there are endless chances to do what truly matters to us. But the truth is, the clock is ticking, and every day you let pass is one less day to choose yourself. It's not that you don't have time. It's that you don't give yourself the time. For everyone else, it's now. For you, it's always later. And as hard as it is to hear, that's the clearest sign that you're still not putting yourself first. Because when you truly care about yourself, you don't keep leaving yourself for last. You hide behind excuses that sound reasonable. When things calm down, I'll start taking care of myself. When I have more money, I'll take that course. When this phase ends, I'll finally have time. But the perfect moment doesn't exist. There will always be noise. There will always be excuses. And meanwhile, the only thing that keeps getting pushed aside is you. Seneca said it plainly: while you delay to live, life passes by. And that's exactly what happens. Life doesn't wait for you to get ready. It moves forward regardless. The years go by, and whatever you left on pause doesn't come back. Putting yourself off is like leaving a faucet running and saying you'll turn it off tomorrow. But the water is flowing, and so is your time. Picture this: it's 11 at night and you've just wrapped up a long, exhausting day. You've solved work issues, answered messages, done people favors. Finally, when you could give yourself a few minutes, the automatic thought pops up: tomorrow. Then tomorrow comes, and it's the same. The next day too. And before you know it, a week, a month, or even a year has gone by, and you still haven't started what matters most to you. Every time you say tomorrow, what you're really saying is, I can wait. But why should you always be the one who waits? Psychologists call it self-abandonment. But let's stop sugarcoating it. It's not loving yourself enough. Because if you truly loved yourself, you wouldn't be okay with constantly putting yourself off. You wouldn't accept a life where everything takes priority over you. So let's be honest, that habit of always waiting for the right time is really just a way of saying you don't matter enough to start now. Take a moment and think back over the last 24 hours. How many things did you do immediately for others? Maybe you replied to a message right away, solved someone's problem, listened to someone else's stress. Now compare that with what you did for yourself. How much of your time got left for later? And that later, it never came. Now think about the thing you've been putting off. Maybe it's writing. Maybe it's getting back into exercise, learning a new language, switching careers, or finally saying something you've kept inside for years. You've probably said it over and over again. I'll do it when I have a free moment. But there's always another demand that feels more urgent. The truth is, that urgency never ends. If you don't choose to start now, you likely never will. Here's something you can try. Picture yourself 5 years from now. Look at 2 different versions of your life. In the first, everything stayed the same. Same unfulfilling job, same dreams stuck in a drawer, same internal voice saying, someday. How does that version of you feel? Now look at the second version. This one took a step. Maybe it wasn't a big one. Maybe it wasn't perfect. But you did something. You started the project, made the decision, prioritized your peace. How does that version of you feel? That comparison is more powerful than any excuse. Jay Shetty says it well. Someday is the most dangerous excuse. Because it doesn't sound toxic, it sounds harmless. But while you keep repeating it, your life runs on autopilot. And every someday is another brick in the prison you build around yourself. Don't wait for life to push you into action with a crisis. Start with something small. Write down one thing you've been putting off. Just one. Read it out loud, and then ask yourself, how much longer am I going to keep putting myself off? That question might sting, but it can also free you. Because once you decide that you come first, someday disappears, and now begins. My friend, postponing yourself isn't about having a busy schedule. It's about self-worth. And the only way to fix it is by proving to yourself, through action, that you are no longer leaving yourself for the end. This time, you're the one you choose. 7. When you don't respect yourself, you become the backup. Let's be clear, you're not someone's backup because the world is unfair. You're the backup because you don't respect yourself, because you don't love yourself enough to put yourself at the center of your life. If you truly valued yourself, you wouldn't always be available at any hour. You wouldn't say yes to everything, and you wouldn't keep pushing aside your own plans just to save everyone else's. But here's something you need to understand. You're no one's priority when you aren't even your own. And as long as you keep treating yourself like a spare, the world will keep using you like one. Seneca warned about this in his letters. Whoever doesn't respect themselves ends up handing their life over to others. And that's exactly what happens when you erase yourself to be available for everyone but you. Your time, your energy, even your identity slowly becomes someone else's property. Picture this. It's someone close to you getting married. You weren't on the original guest list, but suddenly, at the last minute, they text you, "Hey, someone dropped out. Wanna come?" And off you go, rushing to get dressed, smiling as if it's all fine. You sit at the table with the leftover seats, listen to speeches that weren't meant for you, and pretend to enjoy yourself. But deep down, you know the truth. You weren't part of their plans. You were the replacement and you accepted it. It's like being that half-used pen everyone keeps in the drawer. It's never the favorite, never the one someone looks after. But because it's always there, people use it again and again until it runs dry. And when it stops working, they toss it without a second thought. Is that how you want to live? As a resource everyone uses but no one takes care of? It's the same in your everyday life. You reply to messages in the middle of meals, take quick calls that last an hour, show up to meetings no one else wanted to attend. You become the go-to filler, always available, never the first choice. And with every yes you give just to avoid discomfort, you erase your place in the world a little more. The truth is hard. When you accept being a backup, you're saying that others matter more than you do. And it's not them doing that to you, it's you with every yes that costs you a piece of yourself. And if you keep erasing yourself, one day you'll look back and realize you spent years holding up other people's lives while your own was left waiting. Mel Robbins, the author and speaker, opened up about this on her podcast. For years, she couldn't say no. She handled everything, showed up for everyone, ran around meeting everyone else's needs, until one day she woke up completely drained. No voice, no energy, no motivation. And that's when it hit her. It wasn't the world's fault. It was her own. She had erased herself. That was her turning point. She started blocking out time for her own needs, scheduling her own priorities, protecting her time. And what she once feared would feel like rejection turned out to be freedom. And you can bet she understands what Seneca meant when he said, "No wind is favorable to the one who doesn't know where they're going." If you keep changing direction every time someone calls, you'll never arrive anywhere, because you're not living your own life. You're floating in the middle of everyone else's plans. So tell me, how much more time are you going to trade for crumbs of approval? So how do you change that? Not with big dramatic moves, but with small, consistent actions. Start by not replying immediately. If you're watching a movie, finish it. If you're resting, take a deep breath and stay there. The people who value you will wait. The ones who won't, well, they were never really with you to begin with. And you already know this. Define your non-negotiables, those sacred spaces no one else gets to take. Maybe it's your rest, your personal project, your time with your family. Write them down. Say them out loud. Repeat them until you believe them. Because if you don't protect those boundaries, no one else will. And above all, practice saying no with dignity. You don't need to explain or apologize. A simple, "Thanks for thinking of me, but I can't today," is more than enough. That no isn't rejection. It's your clearest way of saying yes to yourself. Because in the end, being the backup isn't something others decide. It's something you allow every time you put yourself second. And the moment you understand that you're not here to fill gaps but to take up space, you'll change everything. Remember this, when you take yourself seriously, others learn to do the same. But as long as you're always available to everyone and absent from your own life, they never will. So ask yourself today, do you want to keep living like a backup? Or are you ready to become your priority? The answer will decide whether you keep burning out or finally start living for real. 8. Your mirror tells the truth. Every morning you pass by the mirror. You wash your face, fix your hair, brush your teeth. But you do it in a rush without really stopping. You check for dark circles, make sure your hair looks presentable, make sure your face is good enough for the video call. And then you move on. As if all that matters is the packaging, but you're skipping the one question that actually matters. How am I? Think of it this way. Checking your reflection only on the outside is like inspecting a car by looking at the paint and tires without ever popping the hood. Maybe it looks shiny. Maybe it even starts. But one day it breaks down in the middle of the road, and you say, surprised, "I didn't see it coming." But of course you did. The problem wasn't the car. It was that you never wanted to look deeper than the surface. It's the same with you. You already know there are signs you've been ignoring. That knot in your stomach every Sunday. That emptiness that shows up in the mornings. That random anger that explodes from nowhere. And instead of listening, you cover it with more work, more obligations, more to-do lists. Ignoring yourself is just another form of abandonment. And when you abandon yourself, it's not because you don't have time. It's because you still haven't made yourself a priority. Let me tell you something that happened to me. For months, every night while washing my face, I felt this pressure in my chest. But I kept telling myself, it's just tiredness. I'll be fine tomorrow, and I ignored it. Until one night, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. My eyes were dull, my skin dry, my shoulders slumped. But the hardest part wasn't physical. It was that I didn't know who that person was anymore. I just stood there, face wet, thinking, when did I lose myself? And I realized it wasn't bad luck. I wasn't falling apart by accident. I'd been neglecting myself, consistently, silently. The Stoics talked about the importance of observing yourself from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The soul becomes visible to itself when it withdraws and examines its own movements." He wasn't talking about a glass mirror. He was talking about the inner mirror, the practice of stopping, noticing what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and refusing to lie to yourself. Because he knew well, you can't rule an empire if you can't rule your own mind. Ask yourself this: how many times a day do you pretend you're fine? How many times do you smile when you're tired, say, "I'm good" when you're not, or brush things off with a "no worries" when inside you're exhausted? Every one of those moments is a distorted reflection. And the longer you live inside that false image, the further away you drift from yourself. Psychologist Julia Christina recommends something simple but powerful: a self-check-in. Just look in the mirror for a couple of minutes a day and ask yourself, honestly, how you're doing. It might feel silly, even uncomfortable, but it's an act of courage. Because the easy thing is to keep rushing. The hard thing is to stop and admit, I'm drained, I feel alone, or I don't want to keep going like this. Try it. Tomorrow, when you look at yourself, don't check if your hair is perfect. Ask yourself out loud, how am I really? And answer. Maybe it feels awkward at first, but speak to yourself the way you would speak to a friend. Say, you're trying and that counts. Or, I know I'm not okay, but I'm ready to start taking care of myself. That voice, your voice, can become the reminder that you deserve to be your own priority. Because if every time you look in the mirror, all you see is tiredness, emptiness, or disconnection, it's not makeup you're missing. It's that you haven't really seen yourself in a long time. And if you can't see yourself, how are you supposed to take care of yourself? How can you put yourself first? My friend, change doesn't begin with huge gestures or dramatic decisions. It begins with something as simple as daring to look at yourself. Really look. The mirror doesn't lie. It might show you tired eyes, a weary face, or a sad expression, but that reflection isn't your enemy. It's a message, an invitation to pay attention before it's too late. Remember this, ignoring yourself is also forgetting yourself, and no one else is going to give you the time to check in with your soul. That's something only you can give yourself. So look at yourself, talk to yourself, acknowledge yourself, because when you finally dare to see yourself, you take the first step toward caring for yourself. And when you care for yourself, you stop being a backup in your own life and start becoming what you were always meant to be, your own priority. And if while listening to all this you felt like you've been putting yourself off for far too long, always putting others first and forgetting about you, then the video on screen is for you. In it, you'll learn how to finally put yourself back at the center of your life. And when you do, everything else starts falling into place. 9. If you don't choose yourself today, time will leave you behind. The Stoics warned us over and over again, the most valuable resource you have isn't money, status, or even health. It's time. Seneca, in On the Shortness of Life, said it bluntly. It's not that we have too little time, but that we waste a great deal of it. And yet, you live as if your days were endless. You handle everything others ask of you, run around chasing whatever's urgent, and stay busy with whatever screams the loudest. But the things that actually matter, the things that have to do with you, always get pushed to later. Do you ever feel like your days slip away and you're not even sure where they went? It's like being on a train that never stops. You look out the window and everything rushes past. Meetings, messages, favors, other people's problems. And when the day ends, when the train finally slows down, you wonder what part of that journey actually belonged to you. And the answer is uncomfortable, almost none of it. Because when you don't choose yourself, it's not just that you're losing time, you're giving it away. And you're giving it to everyone except you. Here's the hard truth. Time doesn't come back. Every minute you give away on autopilot is life you'll never get again. And still, you keep putting yourself off, still telling yourself that your moment will come later. But that moment never shows up, it never does. Take the story of Roberto, a programmer obsessed with data. He tracked everything, website traffic, his team's performance, even the calories in the meals his mom made him. He recommended fitness trackers to friends, reminded his partner to go to the physiotherapist, bought supplements for his father. But he never looked at himself. His whole life was a dashboard of metrics, except his own. Then one day, during a routine checkup, his doctor told him, "You're on the edge of diabetes. How much do you move each day?" Roberto shrugged. He'd never thought about it. He bought a fitness band, and the truth hit him hard. Fewer than 1,000 steps a day. He wasn't even walking enough to stay alive in any real sense. That was his wake-up call. He realized he had spent years giving his attention to everyone except himself. He had lived like he was at the bottom of his own list. That day, he chose differently. Now he sets aside his mornings for walking. He doesn't check emails before 10. And he says that his health isn't in the cloud anymore. It's in his feet. He didn't wait for it to be too late. He chose himself. And that's when his time started to count. You, on the other hand, still live as if you're eternal. As if there will always be a tomorrow to take care of yourself, to start what you keep putting off, to reclaim what you've left behind. But every time you delay, you're choosing the opposite, to let your life be written without you. Think back on the past week. How many hours did you give to meetings that drained you, to favors no one appreciated, to conversations that led nowhere? And now tell me, how much of that time did you give to yourself? Not to your image, not to appearances, but to what you truly need. If the answer is not much or none, don't say you don't have time. You do, you're just not giving it to yourself, because you're still not putting yourself first. Now think about the thing you've been putting off for months. Starting a new habit, having a hard conversation, launching a project, taking care of your health. Now imagine 5 years go by and nothing's changed. Everything is the same. How does that feel? That feeling of emptiness is the clearest sign that you can't keep giving yourself away. Marcus Aurelius repeated this idea often. Life doesn't happen in theory. It happens now, in each decision you make. But you keep living like time is renewable. It's not. Every day that goes by is gone forever. This isn't about becoming obsessed with the clock. It's about protecting sacred time, time that's yours. It could be half an hour in the morning, 20 minutes with a book, a quiet walk. The amount doesn't matter. What matters is that it's non-negotiable. Because when you give it away to the first external noise, you're not just giving away a few minutes, you're giving away your life. Next time someone asks something of you, try this Stoic question. Does this deserve a piece of my existence? Because that's what you're offering. Not just a time slot, existence. And if the answer is no, don't be afraid to protect yourself. Saying no is not selfish, it's respect for yourself. My friend, time doesn't wait. It doesn't pause, it doesn't rewind, it doesn't get stored for later. If you don't choose yourself today, no one else will. And what you'll be left with is watching your life play out in the hands of others. But if you decide to prioritize yourself, even through small, consistent actions, you'll discover what the Stoics already knew. Time well spent isn't measured in hours, it's measured in presence. And presence begins the day you finally put yourself first. You've spent too long leaving yourself for later, and deep down, you feel it. Because this isn't about a lack of time. It's about not seeing yourself as the priority. Maybe what you're missing isn't time at all, but a shift in perspective. And that's exactly what I want to show you in this final lesson. 10. Be quiet and prove it. My friend, think about this. What's the point of saying you're going to change if you already know you won't? How many times have you said, on Monday I'm starting a new routine. I'm going to stop using my phone at night. This time I'll really start eating better and working out. And the only thing that actually starts is another excuse? When you do this, you're not moving forward. You're sabotaging yourself. Because talking about your plans without acting on them is nothing more than a cheap pat on the back, an illusion of progress. But that's not self-love. Truly loving yourself means doing what you know you need, even when no one's watching. Picture this scene. It's Friday, and feeling motivated, you tell your friends, on Monday I'm starting a new life. They cheer you on, say things like, that's awesome, good for you. You soak in their encouragement. You feel excited, almost like you've already changed. But then Monday comes, you wake up late, rush through breakfast and think, okay, tomorrow I'll start. Tuesday, you eat the same junk food and say, it's fine. By Wednesday, you've already forgotten what you promised, and yet in your mind, you still feel like you made progress. Not because you did anything, but because you said you would. That's the trap. Confusing validation with actual change. And it's not just you. It happened to Nathaniel Drew too. In one of his videos, he shared that every time he talked about his goals out loud, he lost energy to follow through. saying it made him feel like he'd already accomplished something, even though he hadn't done a thing. So he started working in silence, building in the shadows, and that's where he found the key. When you stop chasing applause, you start getting results. He summed it up in one clear phrase: some things are better built in the dark. The Stoics understood this perfectly. Epictetus said it 2,000 years ago. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. He didn't feel the need to announce what he was going to do. He just did it. He wasn't after recognition, he was after alignment. This was a man who had lived as a slave, someone without external freedom, but with such inner strength that he didn't need to talk about discipline. He was discipline. Can you imagine Epictetus saying, "On Monday, I'm going to start being more consistent"? Of course not. He was already living it. And here's the point. Every time you announce what you're going to do but don't follow through, you're proving to yourself that you're not your priority. You're showing that you prefer quick approval over real transformation. And that too is a form of self-neglect. Because someone who truly loves themselves doesn't need to shout it, they live it. Think about it in your everyday life. You post on social media that you're starting a new project, and the likes roll in. You get a dopamine hit, as if you've already succeeded, even though you haven't done a thing. You tell your partner you're quitting smoking, this time for real. She congratulates you, encourages you, but by day 3 you're lighting up again. What do you think matters more, what you said or what you did? If you really want to put yourself first, be quiet and act. If you decide to wake up early, set your alarm, get up, and that's it. Don't tell anyone, just do it. If you want to cut sugar, don't announce it. Start and let your body be the witness. If you want to work on your project, don't post a picture of your laptop screen. Work, not to hide, to protect your focus. Real change doesn't need a spotlight. You'll see it in your energy, in your eyes, in your consistency. When someone who truly knows you says, "There's something different about you," that's the proof. Not because you told them, but because you lived it. And remember this, you are not what you announce, you are what you do. What you repeat day after day when no one's watching. You are the silent decisions you stick to when no one claps. That's your true identity. So stop saying it and start doing it. Stop looking for an audience and become your own evidence. Be quiet and prove it. The Stoics knew it, and so do you. Real transformation doesn't make noise. Because in the end, if you truly want to learn how to love yourself more than anyone else, it's not enough to say it out loud. You have to prove it. Through actions, through consistency, through respect. Only then will you start placing yourself where you've always belonged. First, in your own life. Most people keep running after what others expect of them, while abandoning themselves in the shadows. They choose to please, to pretend, to stay quiet, instead of having the courage to put themselves first. But you already know how this works. If you don't choose yourself, no one else will. The Stoics reminded us time and time again, time can't be stored, can't be repeated, and never comes back. Every day you put yourself off is one less day to truly live. And putting yourself first isn't selfish. It's the only way to stay standing, to care for yourself, and to love others in a real, lasting way. So I want to hear from you in the comments. Tell me, what's the first thing you're going to do today to love yourself more than anyone else? And if you don't know what to write, leave this phrase as a promise to yourself. I choose myself first. Reaching the end of this video is no accident. It means something in you wants to grow, and that already sets you apart from most. Subscribe and share this video with someone who needs it. That simple gesture helps us keep spreading this message of growth. On screen, you'll find a playlist to go even deeper. Click and let's keep learning together.